everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
And I'm Chris Yee.
Today we're taking a look at a game called Charioteer, Race for Glory in Ancient Rome.
Oh, what a great cover this is.
It really is a fantastic cover, and I'll have to tell you, I was a little concerned before jumping into this because there are a lot of chariot games out there, the most famous being Circus Maximus, which chariot games are often, they're fun racing games per se, but they're long, drawn out, there's a ton of complexity in them. GMT says the complexity of this is 3, which
out of
means
9.
Which means nothing. Okay, because I don't know GMT's complexity scales. In fact, their solitaire suitability of this is 2 out of 9. What does that even mean? It means it's almost like you shouldn't play it solitaire, but if there's nothing else,
we're not going to stop you. We're not going to bust into your house and say, "Hey, are you soloing Charioteer?"
Well, it's a 2 to 6 player racing game. Racing games these days, there's a decent amount of them, but we want them to be snappy and fast. How does this one stack up? Let's see how it plays. In this game, players are running around this very long track. It's a long board made up of 2 pieces, and you're going to be racing your chariot around that. You're going to be using a little chariot board here. At the beginning of the game, you're going to draw a skill card that's going to show you the 4 kinds of movement: attack, sprint, recovery, and corner, and where they go. There are 24 cards for each of the 24 variations. You look at that card once and put them there. I almost feel like this is an unnecessary component. I guess it's just so everyone is slightly different. You're going to get these 5 tokens here that match the 4 different kinds in this -3 token. You'll have your board here. The board explains a little bit of what the symbols do. And then there is a giant deck of cards. These decks of cards are going to show on each card, it's going to show 3 movement icons. Sometimes they will be the same on them. There's usually 2 of one kind and then 1 of another. There are 4 different kinds of movement, as you've seen already. And then you will see, and you'll notice there's an error here. This one shows a red for sprint, but whatever. I mean, we know that that's actually green. But anyway, there's 4 different kinds of movement, and each of those movement has 3 different numbers. In fact, I'll show you in the rule book. These are all the different kinds of movement that you'll see on the cards. There's going to be 3 crowd cards that are out here. There's 1 for the round that you're currently playing, and these 2 are just the upcoming rounds. And at the end of a round, you're going to remove this one, slide these over, and draw a new card from the deck. There's also an Emperor die that will be rolled at the beginning of each round. That shows what kind of move the Emperor is looking for. Now, players are going to have a hand of 8 cards, and like I said, these cards will have movement icons on them. They also might have a special icon like this whip symbol here. When it's your turn, you are going to play up to 3 cards from your hand, and everyone can also use the crowd card. So you can have a maximum of 4 cards that you play, but you have to have at least 2 cards with matching symbols. So like a really good move for me with these cards here might be playing these. I got 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and there's a 4 in this card. So that is a total of 7 4s that I played for my move. Now, once I've calculated that, I'm going to say there are 7 4s. So I'm going to move 7 spaces plus the number that's there. In this case, it's 4. So I get 11 movement. Now, when you move, you're going to be moving along the track here. If you are moving and there's somebody else, you'll move into their space, and then it costs another movement to move to the inside of the track, and then you keep going. So if there's multiple chariots, when you get there, it's going to cost multiple moves to move around them and keep going forward. When moving around a corner, you'll notice it looks kind of like a piano here. You need to move into every space like this, unless you are using cornering movement. When you're using the cornering movement, the ones in black, then you simply can move only on the outside ones to move around. So cornering movement helps you move faster. The yellow that I just showed you is recovery, because some cards, mostly the red attack cards, are going to cause damage to other players. Whenever you take damage, you're going to put damage here, and then it's going to move over into this box at the end of your turn, and that's going to be subtracting from your move. So you can always take a rest action, just some cards and get rid of damage, but you can also take a recovery movement and remove damage that way. Then there's sprint, that's the green numbers, no special ability there. It just also, they're the fastest numbers. You'll notice there are 6s on them. Players can also play a token that can add to you. Here, if I play this with an attack movement, I'll get +5 movement. This lets me discard some cards from my hand that's -3 so that I can have more cards. I'm trying to clear out some cards to get something for the next round. And also there is the Emperor die, which I mentioned earlier. So whoever moves that color gets to go forward in extra space on the track. So the Emperor's like, hey, I would like to see recovery. Well, I just said I got an 11 for all those symbols I played. I would actually get 12 here. Also, my move was so good, if your move has at least 6 icons of whatever you move. So I played at least 6 of those 4. I get to draw a token from this token bag. So everyone starts with 5 tokens that they can use once, but these are more tokens that you can get. So here's a whip token. Whips let you kind of move really far as long as you're not in the lead. Here's a +3 on a cornering action. Here's some recovery. And these are a one-time use, but you can get these as long as you play 6 of the same icon. Then there's the skill track. I showed you that these all start here. Whenever you make a move in any of the types, you will move that marker up 1 on this track. Once it's at the top of the track, it moves over here. Once it's in this area, you add 1 to that type of move. So every time I do a cornering move, I add 1. Once you finish this area, you put it in the lowest empty box, and for the remainder of the game, you get +3 to that movement, +5, +7, or +9. So those bonuses will come into play. You'll have bonuses off the cards, and you just keep going around. You need to do 3 laps. There is a lap marker that keeps track of this. Lap 1, lap 2, lap 3 is printed on the board. That's pretty much the game, folks. I do want to mention the rule book, which is very colorful. Designer notes, I really enjoyed reading them. But I will say I thought it did not do a particularly good job at explaining the game in order. It seemed like it explained concepts and then the rules. I just found that I felt like they could have shown some better examples in the rule book. But other than that, and the fact that the game, I mean, this is really a terrible board. This crowd here looks like it's a paintbrush type thing on it. The board looks a little dull. I think the cards are very bright and easy to tell apart, but it's not a looker, this game, at all. Okay, but before we talk about the game itself, let's talk about the look, because we slightly criticized that while playing it.
The cover is fantastic, Tom. What do you mean? Oh, no! Yeah, as soon as I turned this box around, I thought, oh, man, okay, yeah, it's a GMT game.
I almost didn't. Okay, so I already mentioned the rulebook is beautiful. It looks way well laid out and everything. I just found it was not the best way to teach a game. It felt like it wasn't that it wasn't clear. It just was, wow, I could have. When I'm teaching it, I'm not following this rule book.
You can sequence the information better, yeah.
Yes.
The board doesn't look great, right? That's plain to see. The audience around the outside looks like old Super Nintendo sprites in the background of games.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about. I mean, they actually drew an audience here that looks better.
I know. It looks terrible. But I will actually say that the production, like, there's a lot of good things about the production in this game. The iconography is at least clear.
The card quality's good.
Card quality's good. The wood blocks.
Screen print it.
That's really good. My first fear when you pull out wood blocks, I was like, no stickers. No, it's screen printed right on there. And the fact that they are wood blocks really helps with being able to have them face up towards yourself.
Yes.
Other people can't see them. You can spend them. It's actually a pretty quality production.
It's just not pretty. So just know that going in. Okay, so the racing itself, there's so many things to like and not like. I mean, there's a few things to not like. Some people aren't going to like the randomness. The fact is, sometimes you need a specific type of card. You're going to have 8 cards, and they're all going to have different icons on them. And you're falling a little bit behind. You need to catch up. You're like, and now, and the Emperor, the People's card out there, and the Emperor die. It just sometimes isn't going to work out for you. When it does work out, it feels amazing. But I do like the system of racing. I think the cornering in this game is awesome. I really like that.
It's really good because people will say, well, if you think about it, racing games are just accumulating victory points on a track, and you get to the end.
If you think that way, then no.
But there are some games where it's harder to justify against that argument, right? Because it really is a race. But this one absolutely does with that cornering mechanism because now the physicality of the board actually matters. Those spaces really count a lot if you can corner at the right time. If you can kind of hold the right cards in reserve for the right moment, get to the right spot, and then play out a big cornering action, you can zip ahead of someone who plays more symbols with higher numbers if you play that right.
Speaking of that, the movement thing is something that instantly I understood. I found not everyone is going to instantly get that. I'm like, just count the number of symbols, add the number on it. That sounds simple, but it is not particular. It's I realize that some people's brains aren't going to work that way. They're going to see 4 4s and go 16. That's not.
Or they're going to. The common question that I see, right, is, well, I have all green symbols. Yeah, but some are 2s, some are 4s, some are 6s. You have to choose a symbol and a number. It's not just all numbers within those symbols.
Once you get it, you get it. And I think it's actually a very clever system. But, yeah, and going back to components, I did not mention this in the overview, I really dislike the little tokens you move forward. They fall over very easily. It's hard to see where they are. That wasn't explained particularly well. It's a neat system, but you got to get them to the end. Now, I'm saying a lot of little negatives about the game. I really like it. It's really fun. And if Heat hadn't just come out from Days of Wonder, I'd been like, this is the best racing game I've played in a long time.
There have been a lot of really good racing games. Dodo's Riding Dinos is on the goofier side of the things. Heat is on a little bit more serious. This is fun because it does some things that are a bit serious, but it also does some things that are kind of goofy. You can attack everyone. How?
Well, the guy explained in the designer's notes he didn't want if you're behind and there's no way to catch up and you can still attack people. It's kind of abstracted out. That doesn't bother me. The attacks aren't, they hurt, but I never felt like, I can't win the game now.
I really like the system of attacks. When you were teaching it for the first time, I thought, I have that hesitancy, but it's good. It's kind of like Dominion. You attack everybody, right? And you also are limited in the number that you can be hit in a single round.
Yeah, it's 1 or 2. Maybe you'll get sometimes 3, but that's a very rare thing.
Right. But never more than 3. I think that the attack system is good and it's impactful, and you still get to race forward when you do the attacking action. It's still something beneficial to you.
Right.
And you can level up that action. The fact that this is a racing game that has kind of an engine build to it is really unique, I think, right? Most games like the Flamme Rouge, you fall apart because you're bicycle racing.
That's true.
Right? Or your car is kind of falling apart. It's taking too many corners and stuff. But this one, you actually get stronger, and I kind of view that as an athlete, like kind of getting in the zone, locking in as you kind of go into the race, getting more familiar with I'm really going to Tokyo drift this game. And you can zoot that thing up on that track a lot. I really like that. That's unique to me.
The game moves at a good clip. I'm giving this game an 8. It's almost there for me. If it looked better, and my other thing that keeps it from being 8.5, I feel like it's a smidge too long. A 2-lap race, I think, works well, although I can understand that then the markers are designed for a 3-lap race.
Like if you move build up, yeah.
Right? So maybe if you move them all forward too, I don't know. I haven't messed with that, so I can't say. But it feels just a smidge too long for what it is. It says 1 to 2 hours on here. If it's 1 hour, I guess if you're playing with 2 people, it's going to be longer than an hour. And I wish it was a little snappier than that. But man, I like everything else about it. I like this engine. I like the chariot racing. I don't have to sit there and find out. There's a few symbols, but I think there's like a whip, which is, catch, you have to move farther ahead if you're not in first place. The shield, which blocks other people attacking you, and then discarding cards. That's it. There's like a few symbols once you learn those. And there's also minor, like, I need to remember to look at the die, remember to look at the people's choice card. But once you get all that stuff going, man, it's really simple and fun to play.
And you can get that down very quickly. I'm also coming in at an 8 for this one because I had a lot of fun. I was surprised because as you're learning it, especially from that rule book, it sounds clunky, it sounds unintuitive, and once you work past some very small hurdles, the game just sings, it moves. I really like it, and I agree with you. I think that the worst thing that this game has going for it, unfortunately, is the fact that Heat just came out. I think that this is a game you shouldn't overlook. I think
that's true.
This is one that really is a lot of fun. 2 laps might be better. I agree with a lot of that sentiment, but I was very pleasantly surprised how fun this one is.
Well, there you go, folks. That's Charioteer, Race for Glory in Ancient Rome. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Chris Yee.
Keep those horses going.